Welcome to the Woodpreneur podcast, the #1 podcast for the business and marketing side of the lumber, woodworking, hardwood flooring, and sawmill industry. I'm your host, Steve from Acres of Timber. Each week, we feature various wood business owners and entrepreneurs from around the globe. We share their stories, paths, insights so that you can network, learn, and grow your own wood business. Thank you so much for listening. Now enjoy the episode. Hey, welcome to a brand new episode of the Woodpreneur podcast. This is your host, Steve Larziliere. Today's guests are Katie and Jesse from JKath Design Build. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, we're great. Thanks for having us.
Great, thank you.
Thanks for being on here. Hey, so why don't you tell everybody about the origin story? How'd you get started?
Yeah.
You go.
He knows it better, but I think maybe I share it better. So we'll give it a stab, and if he wants to add anything.
That's usually the case with most things.
Yeah.
So we're married, we're husband and wife. The company was founded, we're almost to our 15-year anniversary, but Jesse founded it, so I haven't been around for quite 15 years. But the company was founded on the roots of a custom cabinetry shop. That's what Jesse, his first passion and love was for the industry, was in a cabinetry industry business. That's like a whole nother backstory, but that's where JKath got started. Mm-hmm. And that quickly led into, let's do the entire space, or let's do some project management, or let's put the kitchen together for bringing the cabinets. And in short order, Jesse was now project manager, not only designing, building, and installing cabinetry, but he was assisting the homeowners in selections and managing all the details around cabinetry. And then fast forward, I came into the picture, and along came Instagram, and I said, we should put some stuff out there. And the quality of the work was beautiful. I think some of the selections and the items that we way back then were putting out into the world were maybe not as relevant or as design forward as, what we see now in today's world on Instagram, but that was okay. It was just a place to get started. We didn't let it keep us from starting to share the space of what we do in terms of craftsmanship. And then I had a separate business. So I owned a wine bar here in Minneapolis. So I had nothing to do with the industry, but I had designed and had gone through a renovation process of 2 different brick and mortar locations. So I did the whole, put the imposter syndromes aside, and I did the fake it till you make it. And Chip and Joanna were like the biggest thing on TV, and they probably still are, but we're not paying close enough attention because we don't have time. And so the Midwest ate it up. They thought, well, gosh, let's have this husband and wife team come out and tell us how to design and renovate our space. And our business just grew super fast. That was probably back in like 2015, 16. And so now today, fast forward, we have a full design build firm. We have a design team. So we have like 3 arms to our business. So we bring in and do all of our own design work, and that's architectural planning. We have outside contractors we bring in for a structural engineer. And then of course, any additional drafting or architect services that we can't do in-house. We do all the material selection. So really all of our homeowners that come to us are hiring us to bring that piece to the table. So we rarely partner with people that bring that design package to us. We like to curate that on the front end. That really helps inform budget and all of the things from soup to nuts that go into making the project successful. And then we have of course, our field crews. So Jesse is the founder of the company, but his main focus today, I oversee the design team and really the business as a whole. And Jesse oversees all of the project management subs, field crews, scheduling. And then we have a cabinet shop. So we hung on to that, and that's been a little up and down over the years if we should take it or leave it. And we are super excited that we have decided to keep it under our wing, and it's taking off and flourishing in a way that we didn't imagine it would. So cabinetry is one area too where we might just do cabinet only work for folks rather than just fueling our
design build stuff.
Yeah. And then we have a redesign that we launched last year with cabinetry too, so people can click and shop online too.
You are like very busy, both of you.
How did that go? I'm off for the rest of the week. No, I'm not.
Yeah. That's incredible. What year did you guys come together in terms of the business?
So it's about like let's go 2015. It's a little gray. I think we might have a different idea. I think I started probably sooner for the company than what he would probably say. So we'll go 2015.
2015. Okay, yeah. Cool. So you're, wow, almost 10 years, 9 years, yeah. 9 years in. Your work is really beautiful. Who do you find is the ideal audience or customer or client for you? Like what do you think sort of differentiates you from other folks?
By the way, that's the longest Katie was been able to talk without me interrupting. I was biting my tongue the whole time. I think it's funny when she introduced Instagram and all the beauty that comes with our work. And we truly believe that the beauty is real. There's some that online that maybe looks better than it really is. I think it was a surprise to me when we got that first phone call, a first legitimate project. It was a Sunday afternoon, and I was getting ready to watch a wild hockey game playoffs, and there was a young couple, and they said, we found you on Instagram. We want to do a whole house renovation. And that was really the beginning of the future for us. The word of mouth, we no longer relied on. It became Instagram, and we're probably 96%, 95% Instagram, and the rest is still word of mouth, which I would say is more of a repeat customer base, which is even bigger compliment. So I think that was kind of my piece to the Instagram story. I don't remember exactly the initial question.
Yeah, our audience, I would just to add to that. He's right. A lot of our client base right now is from Instagram. But we still have a fair amount of homeowners that are still finding us through Instagram. And I think our if we had to create our dreamy client, they're all dreamy in a different way. Our super dreamy client has done this before. It's not their first home. They have a higher level of tolerance for what it takes to get their renovation. They've maybe been through a previous project and they know what the disappointment ahead is going to be. So there's some expectations set. So we can just kind of get through all of that. And we don't have to do so much coaching, leading, educating on, we're going to take 10 steps back some days and maybe only 2 forward, or we might take 10 forward and 1 back. But so people that have a little bit more experience in this space, we can just get right into the meats of let's go do it. Let's have fun. Trust us. We got you. We're not going anywhere. Our business isn't going to fold. We're not going to take your money and run. We're not going to not pay our subs. So it's just in this industry. I don't know if you hear that a lot, but we have a lot of those obstacles to get through. So our dreamy clients are kind of over that, right? And they are trusting us. So we have, and I would say majority of our clients are there. I mean, we have to, that's why we like to do that design piece ahead of time and make sure that we're getting them in very early so that we can build trust. So by the time we get to demo, we've worked out as many kinks as we possibly can in terms of implementation.
I think that's why I said that I was surprised when we got that first Instagram project, not because we got a phone call, but we had 50 previous, and they were young families that was outside their budget, and it wasn't the type of project that we were willing to take on. So once that large project came in, I just feel like the momentum picked up, and obviously with COVID and the continued boom of what we do, it just was ongoing. I think Katie did a really nice job of setting up some factors to qualify clients so that we're not going to everybody's home anymore, and we're doing Zoom if they met a certain criteria. So I think we've really learned how to hone in on the sales process.
Was that trial by error? Did you get help, or did you realize that, like, oh my God, I'm tired of driving out to places that I was it hard in the beginning to get to that point?
Yeah. Trial by error for sure. I don't mean this to be insensitive because we do love pets, but we should have a disclaimer. If you have cats, Jesse doesn't want to go in there. Childhood, there being too many cats around and on the counters.
I'm also a little uncomfortable with the breastfeeding at the table too, but
not that disqualifies people, but I think you get dragged through so many homes, and when you kind of walk in the door, without passing judgment, you can get assessment if they're ready to do a renovation. And there's a lot of things that'll let us understand if they're ready to do the renovation. And if there's more than one decision makers in the home, having both decision makers available is usually a really good indicator if they're ready. We've been into a lot of homes where we might be in communication with one decision maker who's invited us into the other home or into their home, and the other decision maker is very clearly like sitting at the table, not paying attention to us. So it's a pretty big red flag that one of them wants to move forward and the other's like, we're not spending the money on this. I don't know why you called them out here. So no, none of that. No more.
How do you define the JKath brand? Because it seems like you pay attention to your brand and the positioning and the look, and like there's like you have a certain aesthetic. Like how do you describe the brand?
I love that question. I spend a lot of time on the brand. I mean, to the point where I get frustrated if our vehicles are out on the road and don't have a clean wash. That's a reflection of, I used to be in the hospitality space, as I mentioned, so the bathroom is the best way to assess how that operation runs. And we have done it. We have walked into a restaurant. We have to use the restroom first, and I will walk out and say, nope, we're out of here. How they care for the bathroom is how they're going to prepare our food, and we're out of here. So I think our brand starts with very simple implementation: is how do our vehicles look? Is our team dressed in JKath shirts when they go on site? How do our subs show up for us? All the way through to the end, to making sure we're delivering branded literature to our homeowners on our home care guide. But I always wanted to be, my goal was really big, and I always wanted to be the Starbucks of Minnesota, or the Nike of Minnesota. I mean, people are willing to pay. People do not care that Starbucks can charge $10 a coffee. They want their Starbucks. I mean, my son is our 15-year-old. It's like he can't have enough Nike shoes, and constantly like, dude, these are, you just want, your shoes, need another pair. But it's Nike. So we want that for our company too. We want our aesthetic, which feels like a very modern, traditional, really refreshed approach to what we see here in the Midwest, embracing some of the historical elements, but bringing it forward another, not even decade, but 100 years if we can. And really putting heirloom pieces into people's homes that, should anything happen, they need to move, sell, or pass things down to family. Those cabinetry pieces arguably could be uninstalled, moved to a new location, and reinstalled, and people can carry with them for decades.
My model is a little different from an operations standpoint. Mine is to make sure that you do your best job that's possible, because you don't want callbacks. You don't want to feel like you cut corners. So I feel like the logo "Live in the Details" came out of that. That's kind of that's a huge slogan to live up to, and especially when your name's on the front door. So one thing that we haven't quite captured, I think, would be to scale at a level that becomes less personal. I think it's always going to be a high touch business. And as soon as you lose that touch, we've seen people in the industry lose that touch and things fall apart. And the benefits that you gain by spreading your wings and growing and scaling, you lose out on all the other problems that come up.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a friend, she has a similar business to you in Dallas, Fort Worth. And there are certain aspects that I've noticed in her business that, like, you can scale marketing, lead gen, operations, but you cannot scale the high touch, high quality concierge level of handholding that some of your clients, they're spending a lot of money with you. And so like they want to be able to talk to you, and they want to be able to make sure, because they have a discerning eye, and they want to know that you as their builder understands their vision, right? Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what's been really fun the last few years is that we've gained, all of our clients really is trust. They allow us to do our job versus questioning everything, questioning pricing. So much of it is that trust. And I think it's because we've raised the bar, and we now are in that next tier, maybe a couple tiers up, where you don't have that questioning. You don't have the same education, because it is their second, third, fourth, fifth project sometimes. So that makes it a lot easier for us, wouldn't you say?
Outside of Instagram, how else are you finding clients coming to you?
So not well. We don't do any marketing. We don't do anything paid. We put some money into some paid advertising last year, fourth quarter, we just had a really nice local publication. So we invested and, took out a full page ad, and it did bring us a lead, and we signed a design contract with that homeowner. So that's great. It'll cover the cost of advertising and then some. But, a little bit of word of mouth. And as Jesse mentioned earlier, I would say repeat clients.
Yeah.
But that's a long sales cycle, right? So even the word of mouth, it's all a long sales cycle for what we do. I mean, it could be 18, 24 months. We have a lot of our new leads we're working with right now are all sharing late 2025 even. So we're almost 2 years up before they even want to, knock hammers and start demoing.
Well, we built an infill house in South Minneapolis, and that was in Parade Homes as a dream home. So it was selected as a dream home in 2000, was a show in 21. And we did get some residual work out of that. Our main focus is high-end remodel and big additions versus infill, tear down, build, only because we're not in the real estate business. So you kind of have to have that arm. I love building new. I sometimes will say that it's easier in a lot of ways than building and remodeling. We just got an inquiry from a couple that went through our home during that tour, which was almost 4 years ago now. So the sales cycle can be longer. And if you remain patient and true to your brand, I think people will come.
Yeah.
That's great. How do you manage between the cabinet and the design build side?
So very highly processed, and I wouldn't say we've nailed it yet, but we've been working really hard for the last 2 years to create, a synchronous flow between the two departments. And it's been a lot of meetings and hiring the right people. We've got a great guy running our shop right now. His name's Michael, and we have an engineer in the shop as well. And so between their two minds and our design team's minds, and then of course Jesse's our kind of our clutch, and we can't solve it. We're like, Jesse, get in, and he just might see something that, we're really isolated on the design side, and I might be really opinionated on the cabinet side. And Jesse's really good at saying, well, what if we all kind of meet here? What does that look like? So it's just having the right people. Really, it's people. Wouldn't you say it's our biggest lesson? It's people. And, compensation is a big deal. And, we can't always meet everyone's wishes, but we got to find that balance. And we hear that all the time on similar podcasts. It's like, find good people and pay them well, and that'll pay off in the long run. And then we use a workflow tool internally. We use Monday. I think the rename.
Monday.com? Yeah.
They're going through a rename. I think they're going to be Monday.
Tuesday.
Yeah. Big Friday.
Monday Work Management, I think, is their new.
Monday Work Management.
Yeah.
Monday was better. Yeah.
And so we our engineer's been really great. And we did bring in a consultant to help roll that out for us, but it was probably too much too soon. So we really had to just give our team one step at a time on that. And then after a few months, okay, now let's add this layer into Monday. And it's pretty robust now. And we've got a great person on our team that helps do tweaks and automations for us. We have a lot of automations within that workflow tool. And that's really allowed all of us to just take a breath and say, okay, we can work a little less today because it's going to automate for us.
So we moved our shop we were 10 years south of our office by about 20 miles. And 2 years ago now, a little over 2 years ago, we rented a new space, a new shop, and built out an office so that we'd have that synergy. And with anything, especially with moving new equipment, we bought a bunch of equipment from Germany. It was a rough first 6, 7, 8 months. We were behind months on everything. And we now schedule all of our remodels around our availability to deliver cabinetry. So we start with the cabinet shop capacity and work our way back. We won't demo up somebody's house or kitchen if we know that we're not going to get to the cabinetry within a certain amount of time. And the other thing with cabinetry is countertops have been a constraint for us in terms of measuring and turning that around. So we really look at cabinet install, cabinet countertop measure, and then we back up from there. And we also use Builder Trend as our tool from the operations standpoint to facilitate some of the scheduling as well.
How, and as a couple, how do you sort of manage and balance both, between, working and marriage? And I presume you mentioned children, right? Like how do you balance that?
We need a workflow too. We need a Monday. How about a Friday?
Friday.com. Yeah.
That's such a hard question. I don't know that we'll have the right answer, but there is no right answer.
But you're at it. You're almost 10 years at it. Like there is something there. It is working,
I think the scale that we have accomplished has allowed us to bring in support. So a team. And I've got my team and Jesse has his team. And so on the day-to-day, we're embedded in our teams and not each other, which does allow some division in our work roles. And so we're not so reliant on answers from one another. But there's a benefit to that. So when we are working on a Friday night or a weekend day, because no matter how many times people tell us that we have to work-life balance, not work on the weekends, we're just going to work on the weekends until we are no longer able to work anymore. It's not a lot. Yeah. We are able to turn it off for chunks of time when we go out of town, but we also like to work. We love what we do, so it's fun for us to collaborate. So when we can collaborate, we can when we'll do remote work vacations, we can get so much accomplished with just our mind share of bringing together and quickly checking off those updates in Monday. So, and I think it works because then we're trying to lay the tracks and stay ahead of our team. But we do have 3 kids. We do have a blended family. They're all in high school. One is going off to college. We have a calendar app that we use just on, the less vulnerable side. And we have required all of our kids to participate in it from a very young age. Everyone is responsible to put in where they're going, what they need, how they're driving there. Thankfully, we have a driver in the house now, so we rely on her heavily. But it's also just trying to be intentional. And it's easier for us because we blended our family. We didn't have all of our kids together. So when Jesse and I came together, we had to learn in the onset how to have time together without our kids. That was how we got into this family, because we were dating and, we couldn't introduce our kids to each other right away. And and for other families who have birthed their kids together from the onset, that's all they know, right? As now we didn't have them. Well, we came into this with kids, but learning how to hire babysitters and rely on outside support. So we don't do like weekly date nights, but we're really intentional about let's go for a walk. And now our kids are older. We'll just get up and leave on a Thursday and go to a local place and grab food and try not to talk about work for a few hours.
I think we're also good about working vacations. We'll take a 4-day week and go somewhere over the weekend, and we'll work just hardcore. We'll do some ideation work or I think the thing that's important too is that our kids hear us with our stress of our business, because it's not always easy and there's good days, but I think we're almost always together at dinner. The kids are all busy in sports, but when they come home, they trickle in a little bit, but we all kind of sit down in the same kitchen area, not necessarily all next to each other. And we clang away and eat and talk and argue and everything else. And then kind of repeat the next day. And with 5 people in the family, sometimes you get all 5 on and sometimes you get all 4 out of 5 off.
Yeah. That's fascinating. I was just talking to a client. They're a couple that work together as well. And, they had 3 kids. They're younger. And one of the things that she was telling me, she's like, oh, I got to do this. And I was like, well, why don't you just get help? Like, just get somebody to come in 5 or 10 hours a week to just help around the house, right? Like, you are a high valued person of the business. Why are you still doing low wage, with low wage task? And that was like a game changer for her. She was like, whoa, I don't have to do this. And oftentimes too, people feel this sense of obligation because of the roles that we play in our lives. And then but we're also have an obligation to the businesses that we run and the people that we serve and the employees to be the best. And so, that was I always like to ask that, like, how do couples that have worked together for so long, like, how do they do it, And so
I think your point is super valid and so true for me, because everything that I built with hard work, doing it myself, thinking, I have to go do that. I have to do that. I have to. And now I'm besides the yard work, because I still enjoy it. It's like my stress relief. I try to be smart about the things that I take on and the things that I just hire somebody else to do, personally. So, and you've taught me that.
Yeah, and I would add just parenting advice. Our kids are capable of so much more than we give them credit. And at a very young age, a 5-year-old knows how to make their bed. A 5-year-old knows how to load a dishwasher. I mean, barring any sharp knives. I mean, children at a young age, and they don't have to do this all day long, but our kids have one very specific, and we do have help too, but our kids each have a daily task that they have been in charge of for years, and it's not much. One of them has to load the dishwasher, one has to unload, and the other one has to walk the dog. And if they can do those 3 things, I'll make the food every day. He'll clean it up.
They also have to make their bed every day too. So everyone in the house has to make their bed.
Except for me, I don't make beds. He makes it for us. But yeah, I think I talk to a lot of young moms too. I do a lot of women business mentorship here in Minneapolis. I think that's a big thing too. It's really hard for parents to delegate to their own children.
Yeah. It's hard for folks to delegate, period, because we live in a world where we feel like we can take it all on, and it's hard to ask for help, right? Even within relationships, it's like, it's hard to ask for help. Well, this is awesome. So this is a part of the podcast where you ask any marketing or business advice. So is there anything that you guys need help with that I can give you some advice or an extra set of eyes and ears on, marketing or business related?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. You probably don't. That's what you're thinking. I don't have any time for marketing or thinking about it.
My biggest issue is probably more on like the personal side, that I have a hard time recruiting and trusting to hire somebody. I think it's because we call this our fourth child. And every time you hire somebody, whether they're at the beginning level or they're, well into their career, there's so much energy that goes into hiring them, sharing your knowledge, and your fourth child, that when it doesn't work out, it's painful.
So painful.
And also very debilitating from an efficiency standpoint. So that's really, I think, what would be our biggest pain point of our business always, is capturing that. Basically, we always say that can we replicate ourselves? If I could replicate myself, I could probably lower my blood pressure by a lot. So that would be our goal, would be to replicate it ourselves.
Yeah. So I like this question. And one of the things that I would say is like the same care that you take in attracting a client in terms of your marketing or branding. I think you need to, if the goal and the desire is to build a better support team so that you can continue to elevate and serve the clients that you need, because you probably on this level, or in this level is where you are, there isn't any more that you can add here, but you need to add more on this level, right? Support, admin, designers, project managers, maybe, like subs or what have you. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the same care that you take in terms of marketing and branding to your ideal client is the same energy that you need to take in terms of recruiting talent. And so one thing that I would do for you is there's a software called Loom. You know Loom?
Yeah, we use it.
You use it. Okay. Start literally, I would go to ChatGPT, right? And then come up with, I want to create a company handbook, or I want to start creating SOPs to replicate me. And then say, ask me questions so that you can create a handbook, a standard operating procedure based off of my thing. And then it would ask you a bunch of questions. And then literally I would record every day a Loom conversation of you answering that question, right? And then you'll take that and then you can probably transcribe it and then start creating a SOP or a to-do based off of that. So you can take your Loom video and the transcript based off of it, and then to be able to start creating things that, because at your core, the hardest thing to scale is your culture and your values and your community. And so that's the part, but you can teach anybody how to do anything. You can teach people how to enter things into monday.com, and you can teach people how to those are sort of, but where you actually need to spend more time are capturing your mission, your vision, your values, and your culture. Like there's a reason why JKath is the way it is right now. And so that's what you actually need to spend more time capturing. And then if you want to make it alive, what I would do is literally hire a videographer to just create a culture video. And that could end up being something that goes internally, but it could also go externally to your clients for them to see what it's, what doing business and what you stand for is like. But the next phase after that is hiring people based off of roles, right? And then again, you can just start creating standard operating procedures. It's like, read this, we'll train, teach me what you've learned from the videos that I shared with you, right? And then have them repeat back. And then the next level is, let me see if I can record. I think it's called, I will get you the link, but you need this. Somebody just did this to me. I'm considering doing business with this person. And this person said, hey, do you mind if I send you a survey? And I think it's called Culture Index or something. I don't get paid by them or at all, but I saw this and I filled out a bunch of questions, and he was like, whoa. He was like, you are a visionary, this type of person, and he described me, and we literally had a 10-minute conversation before, but based off of my survey results, he was able to tell, and then he said, oh, this is the area in which you're struggling in your business.
Interesting.
Based off of the survey. And just, an hour or two ago, we were just talking, and he showed me the survey results, and then he zoomed out and showed me all of his businesses and how he's utilizing this to play. He goes, I'm not saying this to Brett. He was like, you're an A player and we have complementary skills. He goes, you see, all of your survey results are here and all of my survey results are here. He goes, so we're actually we're complementary to each other. So that's the other thing that I would do. So like, one is like, capture your mission, vision, values. 2 is to document your standard operating procedures. And you can probably do this on your working vacation time. And then 3 is to, implement a culture index or DISC assessment or Myers-Briggs on everybody within your business, yourself and everybody. Mm-hmm. And then just get some support on understanding what are the types of people that you need to have in place. Because how oftentimes are we like potentially hiring people that are literally the wrong person for the position? But you have this emotional attached to them, or they understand you in a certain way, or they can do a certain thing, or you have this affiliate. You know what I'm talking about, right? Like they're just the wrong people in the wrong position, but you just tolerated it enough to just keep them.
Yep.
So that's what I would do. Is that helpful to hear?
Yeah, it's driving home right now. What's that phrase? I don't know sports.
Hitting home. Yeah.
It's great. Yeah, that's and everything you mentioned, we have access to. We've got a great videographer. We're already using Loom. I mean, we've got a great handbook, but there could be some opportunities. To your point,
make the handbook alive. Like have it on. Like I know somebody else. He's built a multi 7-figure business, and he's focused on processes and operations and documenting. So he's got a bunch of unlisted YouTube videos that he sends people. It's a Google Doc with unlisted private YouTube videos. And that's what he tells people. Watch this, read this, watch this, read this. And then they have meetings based off of the content, So it's like this iterative process for you to just be better at running a company. So
right. It creates engagement around the room that's not so specific to what needs to get done this week.
Exactly. Yeah. Cool. Well, your work is really, really beautiful. Your site and your branding is super tight. It's really, really nice. And thank you so much for being on the podcast. How can people follow you? Tell everybody your website and your Instagram.
Great. Yeah. Website is easy, JKath.com. So JKath.com. And our Instagram is JKath Design Build.
JKath underscore
Design Build. It was one of those handles we set up before we knew it was going to mean something.
For sure.
But yeah, those are the best ways to find us and reach out.
Awesome. Thank you, Katie. Jesse, thank you so much for your time. And I look forward to getting your story out there.
Great. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Take care.